Hey Doc, I've got a problem.
What is it, Pluto?
Well, I've got this, I think it's a parasite growing out of my stomach. It looks like a tiger.
Ha ha ha, very funny. Go away, I'm in the middle of an experiment.
Give me a break, a little escape. I am so tired of being me. I wanna be free, I wanna be new and different. Anything I'm not.
Hello, I'm Plutoburns, and welcome to Eagleland. To this day, my Monster Musume review remains one of my most popular videos. As well it should, because Monster Musume is fracking awesome. It's got fun characters, great comedy, and most importantly, it has an interesting and original idea that it actually takes advantage of. It doesn't just introduce this fantastical world of infinite possibilities and then yank on the choke chain so it can regurgitate the same old tired harem cliches that we've seen in a bajillion other mangas. But today's manga does that. Parasistence Sana is about a guy who gets a stomach parasite, but the parasite somehow materializes outside of his body as a hot girl. She's not really a hot girl, she's parasitic tendrils that assume the form of a hot naked girl because harem manga. And this conscious parasite makes it her business to protect her host from all the threats that a boy in Japan encounters in his day-to-day life. Which is to say none. None threats. But before we get into that, we waste an entire chapter digging around. We open with this girl who calls him Oni-chan, shoving him awake. When that doesn't work, she electrocutes him. What is that, Sakura? A pantograph? 1. How did you get that off the trolley? 2. Those don't have any electricity stored in them, they just conduct it. It's not a fucking capacitor. 3. If it did have electricity running through it, he would be dead.
Can he plug into the third rail and he dies?
So this girl is Mr. Aoi's cousin who lives next door and is horny like all the time. Already I want to punch the shit out of this manga, but we have more establishment. Mr. Aoi lives by himself because of the classic absent parents and is sometimes cared for by his father's lab assistant. A lab assistant who leaves her experiments strewn across the kitchen table, and in the mad rush to get to school on time, he swallows one of these experiments. That's not a terrible idea. I mean, having him mad rush swallow the experiment off the kitchen table, it's a comedy, and that's sufficiently zany. Sorry, I just hate complimenting this manga. First day of school goes by at practically double speed just to establish all the character tropes that I'm not going to give a shit about. We got the sexy school nurse, the sporty best friend, and the silent beauty. Mr. Aoi is having stomach problems as well as inexplicable bursts of jumping power. He goes home hoping to sleep it off, but his stomach problems get even worse and some strange creature starts to break out of his stomach. No, that would be funny. Instead, it's a naked chick. A naked chick who acts like she's from a nudist colony, and she can turn her hair into death spears. Oh gee, that totally wasn't ripped off from To Love Are You. Which certainly didn't steal the idea from Black Cat. Which was almost definitely not taken from Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman. The name of this tapeworm is Sana. She's apparently a result of some experiment and blah 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 blah. I'm not a parasite, I'm a new form of existence. The scientist that I heard talking about me while I was a tapeworm said that I am a parasitic existence. Hence, I am a parasistence. That's a terrible portmanteau. From that point on, this manga does basically nothing interesting. There's this crazy girl who hates signs of affection in public, and the super boobed girl who sits next to Mr. Aoi turns out to also be a parasite. Somehow the manga keeps contriving ways for him to be in trouble to give a damn reason for Sana to go combat mode. But the fact is, whole chapters go by where basically nothing happens. There's one chapter where they just have sexy posing time with the sexy nurse and his horny neighbor, and there's another chapter where the only thing that happens is bath time fun. These kind of chapters make sense in the context of a long, ongoing harem series trying to hit all the cliche points. But Parasite Sex only goes for 11 chapters. And the crazy thing is, it doesn't feel like it was cut off early. Being a short story isn't a bad thing. You can absolutely tell a complete story with interesting characters in a few chapters. Hell, I love Beastmaster. But Parasite Sex has barely enough room for its 4 main characters, let alone the 3 or 4 extras floating around the periphery. And then it proceeds to waste its precious time with sexy shenanigans that don't even go anywhere. And sadly, the main characters are really dull. The only adult in the story is only here for boobs and science, an admittedly nice sounding combination. The perverted neighbor does nothing important until the end when she turns into a tentacle monster for the climax. Give me a minute, I'll get there. Now, Mr. Aodi's thing is that he is detached from life and doesn't desire to have an effect on anything. Maybe that archetype works better in Japan, where a whole generation is working through its sense of abandonment, but even making considerations for that, it doesn't make him interesting to spend time with. And finally, there's Sanitizer. She's naked a lot, is annoyingly chipper, and she's just as boring as Aodi, but she's boring because she's cliched, whereas he's boring for having no personality. She's shameless about her body, is always thinking about what Aodi wants, and is constantly chipper and smiling. Oh, and she can taste what Aodi is eating by holding his hand while he eats. It's almost like she was constructed out of some lonely loser's idea of what a perfect girlfriend would be like, but that'd be far too cynical. But the biggest problem with this manga is how it utterly wastes its only vaguely interesting idea. A thing that they keep hinting to is that Sanitarium's presence in Mr. Aodi grants him enhanced strength and speed. But the caveat is that it also massively increases his aggression when he uses it. So when he is attacked by school president's band of bizarrely specific stereotypes, he does have the power to defend himself, but that power comes with the desire to break their faces in half. Which doesn't work how you think it does. Whatever you're picturing in your head, you're wrong. But the point is that Sanskrit's presence is causing a mental change in Aodi that is not positive. Not a completely original idea, but the sheer brutality that Aodi presents is a stark contrast to the cutesy, sexy style of the manga. It even leads to Boobs Girl, who is also a parasite, trying to kill Sana to save Aodi. But frankly, it doesn't go anywhere. In a fit of jealousy, neighbor cousin drinks some other science experiment from the kitchen table and turns into a tentacle monster. Because what this ending really needed was a completely pointless final boss who possesses no story stakes whatsoever. And then the manga ends with him just getting over the rage spikes. He gets a pep talk and is told that he can resist the influences on his mind being perpetrated by the parasite existing inside of him. Lame. Parasistence Sana is a fucking waste of a manga. Its premise is batshit and bizarre, and it mostly lives up to that insanity, unlike Hotiful Boyfriend. But it doesn't do anything interesting with its concept, preferring to waste time on teenage ennui and sexy girls. It's actually decently drawn with a nice variety of art styles, and there are flashes of real comedy potential in here. And then it ends with a girl turning into a tentacle monster, with no interesting character arcs set up or fleshed out. I'd say I was disappointed, but honestly, just the idea of this manga did not inspire confidence. Just fucking read Parasite. It's not perfect, but it's way more interesting and well-written than this dingle biscuits. The mangaka and artist haven't really done anything else, so fuck it. Till next time, I'm Plutoburns, and this has been Eagle Land.
Hey, Pluto!
What?
So, I was doing some experiments with genes and the cloning facility, and, well, it didn't work, and the long and the short of it is we now have a new member of the team.
Hi! How did you even manage to clone a girl with my DNA? You added a chromosome? That's not even physically possible!
Well, apparently it is.
Welcome to the team?
You can't get out of